Coming up tonight on YCN News, do you recognize this person? Claremont Police need your help identifying them. A local nonprofit launches a new website to help connect consumers and farmers. And a double local action summer scrimmage between Newport and Sunapee. We'll have highlights of that tongue twister. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN News, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, July 15th. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. I'm Kurt Weedy, and this is YCN News. Do you recognize the person in this image? If so, the Claremont Police Department is urging you to call them. This regards an ongoing investigation of stolen property. Call Captain Mark Chase or Officer Jerome Burdick of the Claremont, New Hampshire Police Department. That number is 603-542-9538. Well, ongoing from WNTK, this afternoon in Newport, Jason Hollywood may plead guilty to manufacturing methamphetamine at a home in Claremont earlier this year. YCN News will update you on this story in detail during tomorrow night's broadcast. Well, it's no secret that this warm and often sunny, dry weather beckons all of us who made it through one of the snowiest winters on record. Now with that, people operating or riding on 2 or 4 wheels need to be aware of each other's presence on the road, especially motorcycles with their smaller size. These next 2 stories point out why it's important to be vigilant on the road at all times. A crash in Vermont yesterday around 2:30 in the afternoon resulted in a grisly scene, according to state police. The 1962 Chevy Impala, driven by 22-year-old Gustavo Chang of Manchester, New Hampshire, drifted over the center line on Camp Brook Road in Bethel and hit a motorcycle, injuring its rider and passenger. 74-year-old motorcyclist Dale O'Keefe and his passenger Lisa O'Keefe were hit on the 1994 Harley-Davidson's left side. Dale's left foot and Lisa's left leg were both severed. The O'Keefes were taken to Gifford Medical Center, from which Lisa O'Keefe was med-flighted to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. The O'Keefes are from Mason, Wisconsin. The driver of the car, Chang, sustained a minor cut to his right arm, while the car received extensive front-end damage. Police say charges are pending as the investigation continues tonight. And in the southern part of the Granite State, 2 motorcyclists were killed last night when they were struck by a car that crossed the center line in Brookline, New Hampshire. Police identified the driver of the car as 41-year-old Miguel Ramos of Leominster, Massachusetts. The motorcyclists have not been identified at this time. Well, New Hampshire and Vermont congressional leaders continue to push for continued federal dollars for road and bridge repair, especially the latter of the two. A bit over 13% of New Hampshire bridges are in dire shape, reports the New Hampshire Business Review magazine. Now, by the numbers, this means that 317 of the state's 2,359 bridges are structurally deficient. Usage-wise, a structurally deficient bridge poses more of a safety hazard than does a functionally obsolete bridge. Now, structurally deficient means the deck or its supporting parts are in poor condition. Meanwhile, functionally obsolete means a bridge today would not be built using those same design standards. Cheshire, Merrimack, and Sullivan counties are among the top four areas in the state where the bridges are the worst. 37 of Cheshire County's 345 bridges and 49 of Merrimack County's 496 bridges are structurally deficient, along with 24 of Sullivan County's 249 bridges. The House of Representatives may vote soon on a bill to temporarily ease those bridge woes. Congress has not yet passed a long-term highway funding bill. Well, coming up next on YCN News, the New Hampshire state education system continues to focus on math and science. We'll have full details of that story coming up.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Kurt Weedy. Well, the Upper Valley-based Vital Communities again is working to connect the towns it serves with the land and food produced from its bounty. The nonprofit is launching a new campaign, Valley Farm Fresh. Vital Communities is keeping this up to date too, introducing Valley Farm Fresh online at valleyfarmfresh.org. The mission behind this new program is to connect consumers with the region's many farmers. Valley Food and Farm Manager Becca Warren explains the reasoning behind Valley Farm Fresh. That being that farms want to sell more product direct to consumers, while consumers need better resources to help them find and use local foods. A mobile-friendly Valley Food and Farm guide will connect shoppers to farmers. Check out this new guide and the benefits it offers, such as a calendar of farm-related events and educational materials at the website shown on your screen below. Well, New Hampshire's focus on math and science for students continues, based on an executive order signed today by Governor Maggie Hassan. The order reestablishes the governor's task force on science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM education. So far, 16 men and women representing scientific, industry, and education have been appointed to this task force. Governor Hassan says in a news release that modernizing how the state educates its students in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math is critical to helping them develop the skills needed for good jobs in the innovation economy. A 16-year-old girl from Heartland, Vermont was injured, but not seriously, when the Polaris all-terrain vehicle she rode on Town Hill Road in Reading hit a ditch and flipped over after the girl lost control of the vehicle. She was thrown from the ATV and taken to Mount Ascutney Hospital. Skies were overcast and the roadway wet when the early evening accident occurred. Well, switching gears and turning to southern Vermont news, money for Windham County towns will be forthcoming as these communities adjust to no tax revenue coming in from nuclear power plant Vermont Yankee. The Brattleboro Reformer newspaper reports a project manager, or overseer, will work within the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. Grant money for new economic development will be issued through the Windham County Economic Development Program. $10 million is the sum agreed upon between Vermont and Entergy, the parent company of Vermont Yankee. This money is to help the economic recovery of lost jobs, fewer retail sales, and tax money. The final decisions about the grants and loans will still be made by Governor Peter Shumlin's office, according to the newspaper. Applications for the program manager position will be funded with the Windham County Economic Development Program money. The deadline to apply is July 22nd. Well, coming up next on YCN News, Kearsarge Chronicle host Lynn Solomon spoke with Linda Barnes of The Constant Quilter about the quill top. Don't know what that is? Well, stick around for that interview to find out.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. Well, it eventually turned into a pretty nice one out there, and it looks like things will stay that way for at least the next couple of days. Skies will continue to clear as the evening progresses, with temperatures bottoming out at about 52 degrees and wind gusts of up to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow will begin with a thick layer of fog before giving way to bright sunny skies and a high of 76 degrees. Those skies will remain clear into the evening, with calming winds on a low of 55, before another mostly sunny day Friday with a high of 77 during the day and a low of around 60 Friday evening. Now let's find out what's happening in the area with a look at our community calendar. The Ladies Auxiliary of the Croydon Fire Department will hold its weekly bingo night tomorrow beginning at 6:30 p.m. at the Claremont Senior Center off Maple Avenue in Claremont, New Hampshire. The event is open to anyone ages 18 or older. The Claremont Farmers Market will be held Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Broad Street Park in Claremont, New Hampshire. A variety of local vendors will be on hand offering meats, eggs, vegetables, and much more. The market will be held rain or shine and also feature live music. Chester, Vermont will kick off its 2015 Summer Concert Series with a free performance from the Bonneville Boys from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Academy Building lawn across from the Green in downtown Chester, Vermont. Audience members are encouraged to bring something to sit on. It's been a little bit since we last brought you any basketball highlights, so last night I checked in on a couple local girls teams playing in some friendly scrimmage action over at the Sherburne Gymnasium in Sunapee, New Hampshire. The Lakers welcomed neighboring Newport to town for a 40-minute scrimmage between the non-divisional rivals, and the defending Division IV champs looked like a team just days removed from March's title game as they shot and hustled their way to a convincing victory over a young Tigers team. Sunapee jumped out to a 6-point lead after the opening quarter, behind some solid play from the team's veterans. Incoming senior Lexi Hamilton showed her shot hasn't gone anywhere since winter, knocking down a pair of three-pointers early to spark what turned out to be an impressive performance from beyond the arc. Junior Sydney Clark added this bucket for the home team, before Faith Larpenter's freebie here rounded out her team's first quarter scoring. Newport hung with the Lakers early with help from some solid shooting, and pulled to within 3 early in the second quarter behind this shot from Alexis Hurd. But Sunapee, and specifically Hamilton, went off from there to increase its lead to 22 points by the start of the final quarter. Hamilton finished with a game-high 28 points in the contest for the Lakers, including a crowd-pleasing 8 three-pointers, with all of her points coming over the game's first 3 quarters. Clark added 4 of her 8 points in the fourth quarter, before giving way to some of the team's younger players for pivotal game experience. The teams will likely scrimmage again this summer, before squaring off twice once the regular season rolls around next winter. And in AA baseball news, the majority of the New Hampshire Fisher Cats are off tonight, with the exception of 5 players who will be taking part in the All-Star game over in Portland, Maine. The regular season will pick back up tomorrow when the Cats welcome the Sea Dogs to town at 7 p.m. That's been your local sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
Hey, thanks, Mike. And I am pleased to announce that we now have a sports playlist on our YouTube page, so you can watch every sports segment from the beginning of 2015 up to tonight's. Speaking of tonight, it's time to revisit Colonel Clint Granger and John O'Connor in Capital Connections for part 3 of their conversation. That's coming up next, so don't go anywhere.
The YCN News continues in a moment.